on and on. 7:44, a new free interactive online tool featuring celebrities and leading doctors is being launched to help prevent people with mental health problems reaching crisis point.
Jaaq stands for Just Ask a Question, and it was set up by cosmetics entrepreneur Danny Gray, who's lived with body dysmorphia since he was 14. Users can ask the site a question and watch videos with advice from specialist health professionals and listen to personal experiences from people like David Harewood, Danny himself and me. Let's just take a little look.
Imagine a place where you can ask any question about mental health at the click of a button.
How can I support someone with depression?
How do you deal with your mental health?
Does your mental health affect your sleep?
What treatments are there?
And imagine if you got answers from world-leading professionals and people with experience.
What is depression?
Depression means many different things.
I can feel a spiral coming on.
I suffer with body dysmorphia.
My mum to have had something like this where she could have gone and asked someone. At the time, there's no way she could ask me.
If you've got any questions on body dysmorphic disorder, please just ask me on Jaaq.
If you can help people get the information, that really helps them better understand their illness.
I'm telling you now, we changed history today. I promise you, this will be remembered.
Danny joins us now.
Here's Danny.
Morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, congratulations. This is quite an achievement to provide this resource to people who are struggling and may not know how to ask a question of a professional or where to access help.
Great. That's a great point. For me, it's 10 years from when someone first feels something to when they actually reach out on average with mental health. And the issue is then is that it gets to crisis point.
Yeah.
You want to reach out to a doctor, you eventually you're brave enough to do that. You go to a doctor and then they refer you to a specialist, and the average lead time at the moment is 32 weeks to then speak to someone. But this is a crisis point. That's the tip of the iceberg. Can you imagine these people for that 10 years who don't feel comfortable to reach out or to go to a doctor? This is why I wanted to create something like Jaaq, a resource they can go to, have a conversation, but no, they're not really having a conversation. Ask those important questions, get the right answers from credible people and get the right information. That's what's key for me.
Did you say 32 weeks to see
at the moment,
a specialist? And that's if you're in crisis?
That's for body dysmorphia at the minute. Lead time is 32 weeks.
That's if you're being referred by a GP.
That's being referred by a GP to a specialist who knows what they're talking about. So we have world-leading Dr. David Veal on Jaaq, who's at a click of a button there to answer hundreds of questions for you any time of day.
Should we just explain, you started this because you had body dysmorphia. You then got in touch with other people, myself and David Harewood and others who had other conditions. And we should probably explain how we did it. We sat down and were interviewed, like, all day for hours and hours and hours. We've recorded every possible answer to every imaginable question. The algorithm gets the closest answer to the questions it's asked. That's how it works, isn't it?
Correct. Pulls up the relative information for the question that you ask. We can also guide people on experience to ask different questions to unlock that for them as well. So it was really gruelling. You did incredible, by the way, and so did David. But honestly, that 5, 6, 7 hours of gruelling is immortalising you, and it's going to help. Already, you've been speaking on Jaaq. We only launched it a few hours ago. Hundreds of hours you've already been talking. Professor Paul Gilbert, who's on there, the equivalent that he's spoken to people as a world-leading doctor would have taken 3.5 months, and we've only been launched for a few hours. This is scalable.
Seeing as you're right here, let's ask you some questions about body dysmorphia, because we know that, currently there is a very sensitive discussion about social media and how that makes particularly younger people feel about their bodies. And, we've had this explosive testimony from the Facebook whistleblower who made a comment that really stuck in my head, that young people use Instagram to self-soothe, and at the same time they're being shown material that makes them hate themselves even more. What was it that triggered your body dysmorphia, and can you recognise that that is happening amongst young people? Of course.
So what triggered my body dysmorphia is when I was 12 years old, I got bullied in middle school, so my ears were right angles to my head. A couple of bullies just started taking the mick out of me, and literally it was like someone flicked something in my head. It was a tidal wave of insecurity, and ever since that day, I've been obsessed about the way I look. The issue is for me is that I didn't know how to manage it. So my mum didn't know how to manage it. She didn't know what to say to me. I was a terrible person to live with, if I'm honest. So this is the power of Jaaq about giving people the right information so they can understand an illness. And if you can understand it,
And what
you
is
can start to deal
body
with that.
dysmorphia disorder? What happens?
It's where you obsess about the way you look to a minute detail. It could be anything on your body, but for me, it's my overall appearance. And I could spend hours in front of the mirror and not feel I look right. And all of a sudden, one bit of my hair changes, and I'm like, bang, OK, you look OK. But it could be hours. But I'm a lot better than I was before because I've learned how to manage the situation.
And when you ask for help for that, is there help available, and how does that manifest itself? What's the best thing to help in that situation?
I think the issue is, for now, is what I talked about before, people don't know where to go. So you go to a search engine online, I think we all know what we're talking about, you get 5 million hits with information of someone who might have written a blog in Australia, and you're taking that as gospel, and that's the real information. With Jaaq, we're going to give you we're giving you world-leading doctors that you can go to, and people like Alistair, you can ask a question and you get the right information for me. And that's the other thing with this. Can you imagine Jaaq in schools? Education. How do we teach young people about mental health and get them interacting with it? We need to change. And I genuinely believe, can you imagine this in the school lesson? Sarah, do you want to come up from the class and ask Alistair a question about depression and get them interacting with it? This can open up so much.
And also, I mean, I can see the health service, the NHS getting interested in this.
I'll be honest, we've already had loads of messages from NHS people and staff saying this needs to be in the healthcare. I honestly think this can change healthcare because it's scalable.
Do you know, I think something that people might be surprised about is that one of the things that helped you was makeup, wasn't it? And you went on to make a business out of that.
Correct. So I've been wearing makeup for the last 20 years because it's given me confidence. It's a tool I use, and I created a brand called War Paint, which I launched 3 years ago. It's gone incredibly well, but what I was getting was so many customers reach out to me to say, it's great what you're doing about makeup, but can I talk to you about mental health? Because I've been so vocal about it. So what I'm trying to say now, use tools to deal with it, but you need to get your mind right. And that's why I've created a War Paint that's going to help with tools, but I need to do so much more. So that's why I've created Jaaq, to get your mind right as well.
Danny, I think it's brilliant, and it's going to fill a big gap, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. Jaaq, JAAQ.co.uk. So far, depression, psychosis, body dysmorphia, but we're going to branch out to anxiety, OCD.
Alistair's been incredible, by the way, as well. He's been unbelievable with everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Danny, lovely to see you. Thank you
very much.
Now, still to come. Crowned as, scientifically he claims, the funniest comedian in the UK, Jimmy Carr is here next. You're watching Good Morning Britain on ITV.
We'll put it to the test.